So let's bring in North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer. Now, he's on the Senate Banking and Budget Committees. Now, Senator, Democrats basically can use the reconciliation process once per fiscal year. They did it once already for the American Rescue Package. So is this next one really going to be an infrastructure package?
Well, Edward, I'm not sure what exactly it's going to be, but they certainly seem to be throwing a lot of things at it to try to make it fit into the rules of budget reconciliation. And so it very well could be. I get a little concerned when you're talking about transforming the tax code, talking about an infrastructure bill, talking about climate change, all in the same package. An awful lot of that stuff, I think, belongs in its own lane, not in one big clump. So, I think Mitch McConnell referred to it as a Trojan horse, and I think he has reason to be concerned.
Yeah, some concerns there. Now, I want you to listen to something. This is Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen yesterday from her testimony talking about that potential $3 trillion package. Now, she chose her words carefully. Listen to this.
We intend to put forward a proposal to invest in sustainable infrastructure and to create new green jobs in the process.
And Secretary Yellen calling it sustainable infrastructure, creating green jobs. So will the bridges being built, roads fixed, or are we looking more stuff, as you mentioned, there's climate change?
Well, I think it sounds to me like there's more stuff. I think there's no question that one of the probably the most bipartisan issues in Congress is transportation infrastructure. And that includes, of course, highways and bridges, as you talked about, but it includes waterways, it includes ports. It can include things like broadband, rail, transmission lines, pipelines. And the nice thing about a lot of that stuff is it doesn't have to be funded by the federal taxpayer. In fact, if we get, better regulation, less regulation, more consistent regulation, a lot of it would be built by the private sector, and it would have as its primary purpose the creation of jobs and the growth of our economy. At the same time, I think a highway transportation infrastructure bill is in the making. I don't think there's any question you get a lot of bipartisan support. But when you start taking what's right now about $210 billion in the Highway Trust Fund, talk about a $1 trillion highway bill, you better find some revenue someplace. And I don't think you have to raise taxes to do it. I think you can find the revenue by, first of all, broadening the tax code, particularly as it relates to the Highway Trust Fund. Right now, it's dependent solely on the gas and fuel taxes. Electric vehicles don't use gas. They don't pay for the roads, or hybrids, or the more efficient vehicles. So you're seeing more miles on the roads, but less money for that. I think there are other ways, like opening up our federal resources for mining of things like coal, oil, gas, minerals that are in high demand, and that's good for the American economy. It's good for national security. But what we shouldn't be doing is looking at raising taxes on job creators while we're trying to grow an economy that needs a boost.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Senator Joe Manchin today said that the corporate tax rate should go to at least 25%, and there should be adjustments to the 2017 tax cuts made by the Trump administration. What kind of tax code changes do you anticipate there will be in there?
Well, first of all, if Senator Manchin's talking about 25%, he's talking about a tax increase on the job creators. The main reason that we've had the incredible growth in our economy we've had up until the pandemic is because we lowered the corporate tax rate to 21%. And of course, we made it easier to repatriate funds from American companies that were earning profits overseas. That grew our economy. It makes no sense now at a time when the economy's coming back. The foundation is built pretty strongly to now raise taxes on those very same people. It creates an incentive for people to move their companies out of the country rather than bring more of them in. So that's one that concerns me right away. They're talking about estate taxes. They're talking about capital gains taxes. All of these things are aimed at job creators and, frankly, at the middle class. Even the possible income tax increases on people making as little as $200,000. Now, $200,000 is more than than I make or a lot of people make, but it's not exactly the wealthy. So we've got the makings of a growing economy. What we need to do is open the economy and let the entrepreneurs and the businesses in this country work. And if we need anything more, like highway building, which we do, by the way, we should no longer neglect our transportation infrastructure. Then reduce the regulations, broaden the tax code, the taxes, and let's build some highways and bridges.
So, yeah, Senator, I have quickly, just do you have a number then in mind as to how big this infrastructure package should be?
Yeah, it's a great question, Edward, and I don't know necessarily, but we've been borrowing trillions of dollars for things that are a lot less noble than a highway package or an infrastructure package. It could be $1 trillion, but I don't think all of that trillion has to come from the taxpayers. I think we can work with the private sector through some, PPP programs, and public-private partnerships, as well as unshackle the private sector to build out fiber optics and rail and transmission lines and pipelines, and we can do a lot of good for our economy, create a lot of jobs without raising people's taxes to do it.
Senator, thank you very much. Senator Kevin Cramer from the great state of North Dakota. I appreciate it.